Yarmouth Provincial Election Candidates Debate, presented by the Yarmouth Area Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by the Nova Scotia Realtor Association. I'm a moderator for this debate. My name is Kevin Northup, and I work at 195 CJLS as part of Acadia Broadcasting Limited as a reporter and anchor.
So, bonjour, good day, Gway. I'm JP Vecchio. I'm the other moderator. I'm with the board at the Chamber of Commerce, an area of Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. The Rod Grand Hotel is located in Mi'kmaq, an ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship with Mi'kmaq and Malaset people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized the Mi'kmaq and Malaset title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between the nations. The African Nova Scotian acknowledgement. We recognize that African Nova Scotians are distinct people who form part of over 52 historical land-based communities. Those histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kmaq, known as Nova Scotia, for over 400 years.
And as far as the rules of this debate go, each candidate is going to get 90 seconds to do their introductions and then have 90 seconds per question. Please take note of the monitor for the countdown. Will flash red when you're close to the end of your time. The order by which the candidates respond is randomized ahead of time. However, rebuttals and follow-up conversation will be ad hoc, so please only one person at a time. And closing remarks are subject to the same time constraints. I want to introduce our candidates for the Yarmouth seat in the provincial election. We have Liberal leader and the Honourable Zach Churchill joining us. We have Progressive Conservative candidate Nick Hilton. And we have Green Party candidate Adam Randall. Thank you all for being here.
Sure.
So we're going to start with introductions, and we're going to start with Zach.
Looks like they're having some technical difficulties with their stream.
Everything works perfect until you go.
Yeah, it seems like they're having a bit of technical difficulties with their stream, so they're trying to get that sorted out, and they'll continue the debate. So we'll just be patient here and see what happens. And I'm gonna try and more or less talk in oh Jesus Christ, you're right, Winnipeg, where is it? Now try Winnipeg. So for anybody just coming in, we've got three candidates here: Adam Randall, Green Party; Nick Hilton of the Pro-Conservatives; and Zach Churchill of the Liberal Party.
Just the three cameras. Nothing in the pipeline. So what those schools now would start.
Coming around, talking to a few people.
Hi, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to come down, man.
Yeah, man, thank you. Thanks for
Extend the audience.
what's up, man. Yeah. We've got a couple viewers already.
Huh?
Got a couple viewers in the
Go,
chat
man.
now.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully-
So you can see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just talking to them on here. I don't want to interrupt while you guys are speaking or anything, so I figured
You
I
just go
would.
live the whole time.
Yeah, for this, I'm gonna go
It's
live.
it's like an appendage now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Camera.
Well, to a point, I guess. It's not like I bring it everywhere with me, but you know what I mean? When it comes to stuff like this, I think it's important for people to be aware. Like, there's a lot of people that might have not been able to come out,
Like
or
we talked about, I see speaking to you as being able to speak to your audience, and you've always been
and I'll continue to be regardless of the outcomes of these or my opinions. You know what I mean?
Did Judy have?
Yeah, that was Zach Churchill of the Liberal Party.
Went up Sunday. I said, I'm going up to this. I said, why? So we went to the place. Met an old compatriot in the previous life. They came and sat next to us, celebration of the daughter going to veterinarian school.
I'm
So they were there.
not 100% sure if there's supposed to be like a select seating.
So we were very nice. We had a good
Thanks,
day.
Outer in Canada. I appreciate it. I'm going to talk right now while everything is kind of on hold and people are going around speaking. How is it now? Like, can you hear me and the people talking, like, when they're not far away and not going, like, you know what I mean? They're not through the mics yet, so hopefully when they're actually doing the debate, we're going to be able to hear a bit more. But, sweet.
Good. Go ahead.
Now, I'm being stupid. I need to connect to the Wi-Fi on my other phone that I'm on the chat, which won't take me long. I got a hold of my friend yesterday and got the Wi-Fi password for here. Perfect. Good to hear.
That's a good question. That's a great question.
I'm just trying to get in the, there we go. So hopefully they can get their technical difficulties sorted out here. And we can continue with this debate. I know know it's a little bit boring here, but once we get going, it'll be good. This is just the introductory period here, and I'm trying my best to stream my. Yeah, Pam doesn't really like me that much. That's okay. Yeah, I was actually told about this by Nick Hilton, the PC candidate, yesterday. I saw him when we were out with the family, and he invited us here, and I told him I was going to come and film, so no problem. I even left a voicemail with Richard last night from the Chamber of Commerce to let him know that I was going to be down here. So I think this is in the community, and it looks like they're just about figuring out their technical issues. So I'm going to get back to the just in the chat conversation. I'm going to let them speak and have their time and not be disruptive. All right, you guys? So I'll see you guys in the chat.
Take two. Okay. Welcome to the Yarmouth Area Chamber of Commerce, a Yarmouth Provincial Election Candidates Debate, sponsored by the Nova Scotia Realtor Association. My name is Kevin Northup. I'm one of the moderators for the debate this afternoon, and I'm with Y95 CJLS and a reporter anchor for Acadia Broadcasting Limited.
So, bonjour, good day, Kuwait. I'm the other moderator. I'm Jamie Vecchon. I'm a board member with the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to get started off with the land acknowledgement. Micmac land acknowledgement. The Rod Grand Hotel is located in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Micmac people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Micmac and Maliseet people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. Treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Micmac and Maliseet title and established the rules for what was an ongoing relationship between the nations. The African Nova Scotian Acknowledgement. We recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people who form part of over 52 historical land-based communities, whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched the part of Mi'kmaq known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years.
Rules surround the process for the debate this afternoon. Each candidate going to get 90 seconds to do their introductions and then per question. So please take note of the monitor with the countdown. It will flash red when you're close to the end of your time. The order by which the candidates respond is randomized ahead of time. However, rebuttals and follow-up conversation will be ad hoc, so please only one person at a time. Closing remarks are subject to the same time constraints. I want to introduce our candidates for today. We have Liberal Leader of Nova Scotia, the Honourable Zach Churchill, with us. We have Progressive Conservative candidate Nick Hilton, and we have Green Party candidate Adam Randall joining us today for our meeting. We're going to start off with the introductions, and we'll start with Zach.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, folks. Great to see everybody here today, and thank you for tuning in online. I've had the great honor of representing this area for 14 years, and we have had to fight for what we've gotten down here. Whether it's the ferry, keeping our ride together, keeping the art gallery, protecting our fishing sector. I've had the great privilege of representing this area and pushing back against my own party, our own government, and the federal government to do that. We have a real opportunity now to have a leader and a premier from this area for the first time in our history. I think that's important for our area to be represented in this way. It's our turn to lead, and I think if I am given a chance to form a government, we can really tackle the issues that are affecting people's lives right now. The high cost of living, the high taxes, the housing crisis that is seeing homelessness triple in this province, and the fact that our healthcare system is getting worse and worse and worse, and less doctors are getting into family medicine, and less people have access to a family doctor. We have a real plan that can put $3,000 back into the pockets of Nova Scotians in tax reforms and tax cuts. We are going to systematically tackle the high cost of groceries and power bills in this province. We're the only party that's committing to build new homes that we need right now, desperately, more than ever before, and ensure that new homes that are built are going to be affordable for those that need it. And if we don't deal with people's health and just keep throwing expensive Band-Aids at our healthcare system, we are going to be chasing our tail for a very long time. So we want to build collaborative care centers from one of the province to the other that will help bring more doctors back to family medicine, attach patients to family doctors, but most importantly, do a better job diagnosing illnesses early, helping people better manage their chronic conditions so that people in this province can live longer, healthier, happier lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Thank you, Kevin and Jamie and the Chamber of Commerce for having us here today. I'm going to start off a little different and tell you a little bit about myself and how I ended up on the stage here with these two gentlemen, and thank you again for both being here. My name is Nick Hilton. I'm born and raised here in Yarmouth, the same as these two, growing with Zach, going to school with Zach and Adam as well. And I now live here with my wife and stepdaughter. I've been a nurse here for 21 years at the Yarmouth Regional Hospital. Been a volunteer in several local organizations, president of the Curling and Golf Club, 4-H member, long-term, just genuine supporter of Yarmouth County. And 4 years ago ran for municipal council and was elected, and still am elected, supporting Yarmouth at a different level of government, but still in the same way. And many of the things at that table affect the things at this table, and we're seeing success in those areas through the Mariner Center Ground Search and Rescue, or Mariner Center expansion, providing sustainable funding for ground search, building the splash park and playgrounds, supporting organizations like the Farmers Market and other 4-H clubs. So in the last 6 months, we've seen Tim Houston here more times than previous. We've seen more things happen funding-wise in Yarmouth County in the past year through the announcement to continue the Ferry terminal, the ER breaking ground in the spring, wastewater treatment funding. We're seeing the PC government invest in Yarmouth County housing on Shaw Avenue. We're seeing the PC government invest in Yarmouth County. The PC government is the only one that has
Thank
a
you, Nick.
plan.
Thank you. Thank you. Adam?
Hi. I'd like to also acknowledge that we are operating on the Micmac land. And I operate on the land too. That was the first line in the Green Party's policy. I haven't read the whole policy. I'm not a career politician, and I'm looking at building a brand. And so that's why I'm here. When I looked at how the Micmac people lived before we came, it seems that they lived in harmony with our environment, and that they had things pretty much figured out. And I feel like maybe the way that we're operating right now, we're kind of going awry. And I feel like Yarmouth is a good place where we can maybe get back to nature and live in harmony with our environment. So I feel that the Green Party embodies what I believe. And I haven't really done a whole lot of research, and I'm pretty ignorant in a lot of ways. But I'd like to help build this brand of the Green Party and work towards a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Okay, so we're going to get right into the questions. We'll start off. The public has voiced concerns over the promises made during campaigning and realistic delivery of those promises. What can you, as Yarmouth's future MLA, say to instill trust and credibility that your party is going to make good and be held accountable? And so, Zach, I would ask that you first, and then Adam, and then Nick.
Well, I think the promises that we make people have to be kept. And I certainly don't think I have to point out in this room that this very election itself is a break of Mr. Houston's first law, his first promise to have fixed election dates. We have seen a record of broken promises and promises not kept. I view this platform that we're running on, again, one that is going to make life more affordable for people, that is going to reduce taxes by $3,000 per the average household, that's going to build homes, that's going to deal with the fundamentals of our healthcare system as a contract with Nova Scotians. It is fully costed. We have the most complete plan, well thought out plan of policies. It's not a marketing document like you might see from other parties. This is a real vision on how we can not just help people that are falling behind in this current moment with the cost of living, with lack of housing, with lack of access to healthcare, but how we can set the next generation up for success in this province. And that has to be something that we do too, because it's not just about the political cycle that we have to focus on. The decisions that we make now in this province, the money that we invest, are going to have an impact one way or another over the next 10, 20 years. We have a plan that I think can carry our province into those years and ensure that people can have more money in their pocket, be healthier, and happier.
What was the question?
So I'll read it again. The public has voiced concerns over the promises made during campaigning and realistic delivery of those promises. What can you, as Yarmouth's future MLA, say to instill trust and credibility that your party is going to make good and be held accountable?
Our party believes in transparency and holding government accountable. So that's why I'm here, watching you too. All right, and I also, I feel that it's important, being a corporation myself, being the president of a corporation, I understand that a lot of times that corporations will protect their proprietary information, and it's really important for companies to do that so they can make profits. I think it's important for there to be transparency when it comes to public spending, and I know that there's certain sectors that hide their pricing, and it's our tax dollars. I try to operate my businesses under the law, and I try to pay my taxes, all of them that are due. So I've been operating, and I've been paying a lot of taxes, and I would like to see accountability for my tax dollars. Thank you.
Nick?
Thank you. As a municipal councillor, I have a history of keeping my promises and taking that to the next level. Our platform is lower taxes, more doctors, and higher wages. And the past 3 years, those things are happening, and the plan that we have is making a difference. As a nurse, that's why I decided to run. It's the first time in over a decade that we've seen significant improvement in healthcare. We have 265 more doctors net in Nova Scotia, almost 2,000 more nurses. Those are the things that are going to make a difference in improving healthcare. I was standing on the doorstep of a local physician yesterday, and he was telling me the exact same thing. Until we train enough staff that we can replace the ones that are retiring, that are leaving for other reasons, that are just burnt out, we will not succeed. So training more doctors, more nurses through the platform that we have as a PC government is the only thing that's going to see success. And when we talk about building more collaborative practices, we've put in 75. So yes, we'll continue to put in more programming and more initiatives that help support these platform issues. But the PC government is the only government that has successfully shown that they can provide a platform and succeed with it.
Thank you. Zach, rebuttals? Well, I just want people to think about the slogan that you just mentioned. Lower taxes, more doctors, and higher wages. It sounds very similar to the platform that Tim Houston ran on last time, to fix healthcare and to have a better paycheck guaranteed for those working in the private sector. And I think if the plan was working, we wouldn't need to have this election called right now to run on the same slogans that the Premier ran on last time. Because here's the reality I think that I'm worried about in healthcare. We've got twice as many people now without a family doctor. We've got emergency room closures that are higher than any other time in recent memory. We have more emergency room deaths than ever before. Some of the highest wound infection rates in the country. I am talking to doctors and nurses and patients from one end of the province to the other. And the sense that I get from them is more of desperation and fear and worry about the state of our healthcare system. And I think we all have to take responsibility for that. I'm a former health minister. All three major parties have had a kick at the can here. Everyone has thrown more money at healthcare, but things have still gotten worse and worse and worse. And we are seeing a lot of money spent right now on things that are not having the impact that matters on those fundamentals. And I think we have to get back to the most fundamental thing, and that's focusing on things that are going to help improve people's health.
So next would be Adam.
I don't think I have any with office here.
Thank you. So it's easy to say that, but as a healthcare professional, I truly believe that this is the reason I decided to support the PC party. This is the first time in a long time that morale is changing. It's the first time in a long time that we're seeing, you talked about the doctor's list. In the last 2 months, we've taken 20,000 people off the doctor's list in September, and I'm hearing another 12,000 off the list in October. So it's the first time. It takes time, especially when we were in the hole that we were in, to build policy and to provide opportunities for people so that we can grow and work together to better the healthcare system. I do believe that we have several accomplishments, including free tuition for CCAs, free tuition for LPNs, pathway for the CCAs to graduate for LPNs, new nursing school at Acadia, medical school graduating 30 doctors at Cape Breton University in the near future, new paramedic programs right here in Yarmouth. This needs to be more about Yarmouth. Allowing professionals like pharmacists to work at their full scope of practice, 75 new collaborative care clinics, an increase in long-term care beds that's never been seen before, including an investment in 21 beds at Yarmouth Heights that we visited this morning, EHS patient transfer planes, delivering patients from Yarmouth to Halifax for non-emergent care. We have created over 1 million new primary care appointments.
I appreciate this.
We do have a lot of ground to cover, and one of those issues here, of course, is the Yarmouth Ferry to Maine, and a progress report on the economic impact of that ferry showed some key facts, namely the ferry generates economic benefit to the whole province and not just Yarmouth. So this question for me here is in two parts. Firstly, do we have the right boat for the service, since it's not designed to carry cargo or tour buses? And what should the province do to ensure the long-term sustainability of the service? We'll start with Adam.
If elected MLA, I will bring 2 cats to Yarmouth. That's my election promise. And if I do not fulfill this promise, I will not run again. Thank you.
Nick?
Yeah, so the PC government has never not had a ferry in Yarmouth County when they were in power. The PC government has shown that they're going to continue to support the Yarmouth Ferry with the recent commitment to another 2 years. And if you were at the announcement, they said that there will be further thought to a long-term commitment of 10 years. So the Yarmouth Ferry is showing through the economic study that shows that it's a success and a good deal for Nova Scotians and a good deal for Yarmouth. And I don't think that in the past there's been a lot of conversation about where it was going. It's not going anywhere, and this PC government fully supports Yarmouth in the ferry. As far as with the right type of boat, I think the economic study shows that this current boat is working. Tourism is up. We've seen numbers flying, I think in the latter part of the season, up 18% over last year. We can continue with this boat, but the one thing about this government is they wanted to look at what other options were available. It was never about getting rid of the ferry. It was about what is good for Yarmouth, and right now, this is the boat for us.
Zach? Well, listen, I don't know that people are buying that. I mean, our memories are not that bad here in Yarmouth that we forget when Tim Houston and Jamie Bailey before him attacked this service, called it a waste of money. In Mr. Houston's first year as Premier, he said every Nova Scotian should be embarrassed and worried about the amount of tourists that are traveling on the Cat Ferry, even though that ferry rebounded out of COVID better than BC ferries, better than driving traffic to Ontario. We've known the importance of this for a long time. Nick says, you know, that Tim's been coming down for the last 6 months. I'm happy that he finally cares about this area, now that we are right before an election. But the fact is that the economics around this have been very clear from the beginning, when we lost it and lost half of our room accommodations, when we fought hard to get it back and rebuilt our tourism economy. And we're talking about a premier here that has broken his word on nearly every single promise. If people trust him with this ferry, that's up to you. He has extended the contract for 1 year. 1 year only. We can't even book bus tours now on that ferry service. Hotels can't get financing from the banks because there's no long-term commitment. There's a simple long-term solution to this. It's to do what we did, sign a 10-year contract, get this done so we can keep building on the great economic success that we have over the last 10 years.
So as a follow-up to that question, is your party, or will your party continue to support the ferry service in Yarmouth in the long term? And let me think first.
Thank you. Yeah, it was clear at the announcement that this government has no, there's no thought of removing the ferry program. We are continuing to build on the economic report. We're going to find out what economy says next year, and there's nothing wrong with the government exploring what the numbers are when it comes to a major investment like $21 million. So no one said that we were going to remove it recently. We're moving on as a county, and you want to have someone at the government table when the decision is made on keeping or on negotiating long-term contracts. So I think it's kind of clear provincially that we're going to have a PC government, and it's important that we have someone at the decision-making table for the next negotiation.
Government.
Next, yeah.
I don't know enough about all the politics involved in the CAT. For me personally, you know, with the cost of living and everything, like I don't have enough time to go to Bar Harbor. And, you know, I find the tickets are expensive. I think they're $300 and something. For a lot of me and my friends, like it's just something that's kind of out of reach. So I haven't really spent a whole lot of time on the issue. So I apologize for my ignorance on that.
Well, listen, I think this election is going to be about trust and who people trust. You know, there's no guarantee of who the government's going to be. We've been surprised before. I think we may be surprised again. But here's a promise I'll make. We'll be in a lot better position on this ferry if Tim Houston's not the premier of this province, and if I am, because that contract will be signed on. I want to point people's attention to the prominent conservatives, even in this area, over the last 10 years, as Tim Houston and Jamie Bailey before him attacked that service, ripped it down, turned the public against it. Where were all the people then? All the conservatives then fighting for this community. The only one that did was Charles Crosby. Everybody else sat by quietly while Tim Houston ripped apart the reputation of the service. And if you think that giving Mr. Houston more yes-men and his party to sit around and do his bidding and to remain quiet when he's making decisions that are bad for our economy, that are bad for our communities, I have to tell you, that's not going to do it. The reason Tim Houston has come around on this ferry is because he knows we are willing to fight for it here, because he is scared of bad headlines, he responds and reacts to political pressure, and we need to make sure that that political pressure stays on him, whether he's in Yeltsin or not.
Thank you.
Moving on to the federal government. Oh, Nick, yeah.
Yeah, so just to speak to that, I think it's important to know that it's not just the Liberals that care about that ferry, it's the community of Yarmouth that care about that ferry. And as a PC MLA, I'll be there to step up and support Yarmouth. And excited to work with Tim Houston and you know, our ministers on either side of us in Digby and in Argyle and Coquitlam, and I know that it's not just we'll have a better chance of saving the ferry or keeping the ferry or renegotiating the ferry with a complete set of PC candidates, elected PC candidates in southwest Nova Scotia.
You're here.
That sounds like holding it for ransom for me. And I have to say, we need a premier that's going to govern for everybody. That's not just going to invest in areas that premier holds seats in. I was proud to work under 2 premiers that did that, where conservative seats, NDP seats got new schools, got road investment. If anybody thinks it's a good thing for conservative members to say, well, we'll have a better chance, the only way to protect us is if we hold the seat, think about what kind of government that is. And people need to ask themselves in this community, in this province, if that's the kind of government that they want to support.
No.
Thank you. Our next question, the federal government controls enforcement of the Fisheries Act and regulations, but what role do you feel the province of Nova Scotia should have with respect to ensuring all participants are protected in the most important industry for this part of the province? And we'll start with Nick.
Thank you. So we all know fishing is the backbone of our community. That's never been more clear than it is now. When we're talking about small business, large business, the economic growth, they all revolve around the fishery here in Yarmouth. So it's clear that we have some issues around illegal fishing that need to be dealt with, and the question is, what's the best way for that to happen? And when it comes right down to it, we need more enforcement on the water by the federal government, by DFO, and we can support that provincially. I think our government has been doing that by hiring extra enforcement and increasing our CMP. But at the end of the day, that's not enough. And we need to work with our federal counterparts to finally put something on paper and for them to enforce rules of the fishery on the water.
Enforce the provincial buyers.
Thank you. Zach?
Listen, DFO has dropped the ball on this. We have a federal government that is not doing their part to uphold the law. That is something that myself and the MLA for Clare, Ryan McDonald, have been very clear about. We have pushed the federal government to act. We have pushed members of the federal Liberal Party to be involved in this more, and it's very disappointing to see how this has been handled on the water. And we are committing to build a provincial Office of Commercial Fisheries, whose job it will be to negotiate government to government with the feds on this to support our commercial fisheries, which we will be in a terrible economic situation if anything changes there. But the province has a role to play here, and they have been derelict on their duties. People aren't going to go fish illegal lobsters if there's not people to buy it on land. DFO regulates the water, the province regulates the land and what happens with buyers. We have a zero tolerance policy with any commercial buyers who buy illegal lobster fishing. Tenancy has gotten rid of that. We also only have 2 enforcement officers down here on the provincial side. So not only will we build this new office in the Ministry of Fisheries, but we will also have more enforcement officers on the ground and actually do their job to stop the illegal buying of illegal lobster.
Thank you, Zach.
Long overdue.
Adam?
When it comes to things like this, you know, I think a lot of times, like greed will come into play. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, so people get jealous. You know, this guy's allowed to do this, and you know, this person's not. And you know, when it comes to harvesting, you know, what we have in our area, you know, we need to be accountable for it, and we can't be overfishing. I think that one of the things that comes up a lot when people are talking about this is what's a moderate living. I think that's one of the debates and what people should be entitled to have. So, when it comes to how much we're fishing and putting bans, we need to all work together for this and set down the rules and not be bought or bullied.
Thank you, Adam. Nick?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that the province does need to play a role in this. And I couldn't agree more that the federal government is the one that needs to step up to the plate. So I think as your PC MLA, we're going to be able to work with the PC provincial government and possibly a conservative federal government to undo and provide some of the answers needed to levy or to have DFO have the information they need to be able to enforce the laws on the water, and that would stop some of the 30% of illegal lobster that's arriving on our shores, so that we can continue. What I really want to say is that I understand that the province plays that role, but we can't do enough about it as long as those lobsters are coming ashore. So we need to take this as a team approach, and I think we can do that as a PC government.
Deal with the buyers now or 4 years ago?
Thank you. We'll keep the comments to the candidates, please. Zach?
We've got to deal with the buying side. There's two sides to this equation. There's what happens on the water, and the issue isn't with the moderate livelihood fishery, which has been going on cooperatively between our bands and the commercial fisheries for 2 decades. It is about the commercial scale fishing illegally in spawning season. So this creates a real, I think, problem for the lobster stock, and we have to take it very seriously. We do have to work with the federal government on this, and that means you actually have to sit at the table and do the work. It doesn't just mean kicking the federal government every chance you get in the media, like is currently happening right now, although I've had to do that too on occasion myself. But the province needs to take responsibility for this. It's in large part DFO's issue, but people are not going to catch lobsters. They're not going to go with their own water, spend their gas on bringing up all these illegal lobsters in large scale if they can't sell it to have the capacity to buy that volume of lobsters and get to markets. So we have to crack down on the illegal buying, and the province is the jurisdiction, has the jurisdiction on that, and that's something that we will tackle immediately, like we did previously when we were in government. Thank you.
Next question. Internet and cell phone coverage is considered a must, not a have or a want. Unfortunately, for most of Nova Scotians, coverage is spotty at best. With 40% of the province's population considered to be living rurally, what do you feel is the province's role in ensuring that reliable cell service and internet is available to all? Now to start with Zach.
Well, that is something that we have to do, and we've seen cell coverage get worse and worse and worse. We were part of a government that got our province to 95% connection with high-speed internet. Now we have to tackle that with cell coverage. So we have committed to investing in 87 new cell towers from one of the province to the other, starting first on the major highways to make sure that we are connected along those highway routes, and then moving out from that. Another big part of the problem here is the amount of people that are using the network. So we have had a premier in place that has been driving to double the population without a plan to keep our infrastructure up with that pace of growth, from our roads to our hospitals, our schools, and our cellular infrastructure as well. So we need to catch up, and we're committed in our platform to building 87 of these, again, beginning on those major highway arteries through the province, which I drive one every week. And it is shocking, that's why I have to get my phone calls done, to call people back in the constituency in particular. And I'm sure anybody who's on those roads, it drives them crazy how many times your calls are gonna drop. And that has been getting worse and worse and worse because there hasn't been the investment put in that infrastructure to the extent that we need it.
Yes. Thank you. This government, the Team Houston government's already made a $65 million investment in putting up new cell phone towers. Everyone in Yarmouth is well aware that we have some issues. On the municipal government table, we've worked with Development Nova Scotia to make sure that everyone in Yarmouth County has access to high-speed internet, and we're doing the same thing with cell phone coverage. So this is an issue that's being addressed. It's an issue that's being funded by the Tim Houston government, and it's an issue that I see will have a resolution in the next short while. And I can't stress more that there's some safety issues attached to that, and we will continue to move forward. And I think this government's doing a good job.
Thank you.
Adam? I'm in the middle of renovating a home in Pleasant Valley, and the reception there was poor. I got Starlink. It seemed to help out quite a bit. It's a $300 investment. I think they have units too. So that's what I did personally. I look at the cell towers. They don't seem too difficult to construct, and I don't see why the government wouldn't be able to invest in that. It's such a priority to everybody. Thank you.
I'll just say, like, there's other infrastructure too that we're falling behind on, particularly our roads. Like, we have the worst roads in the country. StatsCan came out with a report on that recently. We are also committed to finishing our 100 series highways. This is committed to in our platform as well as 20 the areas where we have the highest volume and greatest safety issues as well. I am worried about the Conservatives' plan to take the tolls off the bridge in Halifax. That is going to be an extremely costly proposition. Not just the $40 million for the tolls themselves to cover that, the maintenance of those bridges that are around $26 million a year, plus the McCain Bridge needs to be replaced in 10 years. We're looking at $1 billion plus money just for that one commitment in the PC platform. That money, I think, is better spent on our roads, so that we can build up the highway infrastructure that we need to get to rural Nova Scotia, so we have safer roads. And so whoever is the next MLA for this area gets less road calls because of potholes and maintenance issues. So certainly, I think cell's important. Internet's important, we need infrastructure for that, but road infrastructure is absolutely key as well. And we would not put that money on the tolls, we would put it in the roads.
Thank you. There's no other toll highway or toll roads left in Nova Scotia, so it's only fair that people in Halifax experience the same, or in Central experience the same rates that we do. We're talking about infrastructure. The real question is, what about infrastructure for Yarmouth? We haven't built anything in Yarmouth since the last PC government over 14 years ago, when we built the jail and the courthouse, and invested in the wastewater treatment plant. We need to focus on bringing some infrastructure money here to Yarmouth. I couldn't agree more that roads are an issue. We hear that at the municipal table, to the point where the municipality is looking at doing some of the work itself, so on our own roads. So we need, the Tim Houston government is committed $1.3 billion in infrastructure for road improvements, more than any previous government has ever provided. And again, we need an MLA that's going to bring some of that back here to Yarmouth. And I can't stress more that being on the side of government will make it easier to do that.
Thank you.
What was the question about roads or cell towers? Okay. Will you be talking about roads later, or would now be a good opportunity to talk about roads?
By all means,
I brought it up.
Okay. I think the biggest thing about roads is transport. And, you know, they bring in products from that aren't here that, you know, we could probably produce ourselves. So, you know, when it comes to like our weather and our climate, you know, when roads are soft and we have all this additional traffic, heavy traffic on our roads, it could be prevented if we use more local products. So if we were to be a little more investment in our own companies and everything, I'd like to see less heavy vehicles on the road come into here. You know, I'm in the construction business, and we have lots of problems getting products here on time. And if we had more investment into local manufacturers, I think that would help out roads. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. And with elections certainly come promises. And as far as paying for those promises, a lot of people do ask how will governments pay for those promises, whether it's reducing the HST, free parking in healthcare facilities, taking off tolls from the bridges, collaborative care clinics. The money has to come from somewhere. So my question is, where can we expect to see cuts coming from, and how do we raise the capital necessary to fund these programs? And the first response goes to Adam.
I didn't get the question, I'm sorry.
So the question is, with all the promises, where can we expect to see cuts coming from to pay for these promises, and how do you raise the capital necessary to fund these programs?
Okay. I find that, you know, I think most of the funds that Nova Scotia gets is from taxpayers. And, you know, it's from work and everything. And I think our provincial economy is about $45 billion. And that the operations that the provincial government do is about 15 billion of that. So, you know, about a third of our spending is provincial spending. So I see lots of ways that we could reduce our spending. So when it comes to all these things that you mentioned, I think if we're a little bit more efficient in the way that we do our work and everything, there's a lot of wasted energy. And if we're to be a little bit more smart on the way we do things, like let's say if we had beef produced locally and then sold to the market here, that would cut out a lot of our waste.
Thank you, Adam. Zach.
Our budget is fully costed for our platform. We've got big initiatives in there that will make life more affordable, will save people money in taxes by cutting the HST by 2 points, by reducing income taxes, and also have major investments in infrastructure. We actually have the revenue to do this right now. It will take fiscal discipline. Mr. Houston has had about $3.5 billion more in revenue, more than any other government in history over the last few years. And a lot of that's come from the federal government, a lot of it's come from the inflation and impact to taxes. But if we just stick to our budget and don't spend $1 billion over it like has happened, we can afford to do all these things. We're fully costed, we're the only platform that's fully costed, and we have the revenues and budget to do this. I do want to go back to the question we had on infrastructure. This idea that you have to be on the government side if your community wants anything, I have a real ethical problem with. We did invest in infrastructure in this community when I was in government. We built 3 new schools, including one in Yarmouth, one in Clare, one in Argyle, and Wedgeport. That needed to happen. That was a conservative seat. I never thought once when I was in government that a community shouldn't get what they deserve or need simply because of what color represents them in the legislature. And I think to propose that in this way is wrong. And I think it speaks to the culture of decision-making with the Conservative Party here in Nova Scotia.
Thank you, Zach. Nick?
Thank you. So I'll just rephrase that. It's important, it's easier to get things done when you're on the side of government. I'll leave it up to Nova Scotians to decide who's going to make the next government.
Was where can we expect to see cuts coming from?
Yeah, so cost of living, we know it's expensive to live in Nova Scotia right now. That's why we've gone back to the polls to get a clear mandate from Nova Scotians. We know that our previous mandate was to focus on healthcare, and the next one needs to be to work on the cost of living. And our platform is fully costed as well. Through the 1% HS decrease, which works out to like $265 million that the PC government or the government no longer has time to, or no longer will have that funds to spend. We have to make sure that we can control, make sure that we know where those funds are coming from. And I feel like this government is doing that. We're providing, we have to balance spending with the effect it has on our residents. And no other government has done that as well as the PC government. We're going to balance spending with its effect on our residents, and really that's what we need to do as a good government.
Thank you, Nick.
I think when you look at a lot of money that's being spent currently, there's hundreds of millions of dollars going out in untendered contracts with this government. There's hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on an untendered contract for a phone app, for healthcare, for an innovation center down Halifax. A lot of conservative-friendly businesses and consulting groups are getting big amounts of money. We've seen $1 million be spent of taxpayers' money for scene points. We are seeing, in my opinion, particularly coming from a government that took the financial responsibility very seriously, a lot of wasted money. Every department but two has overspent in the last 3 years. Every department. The administration in the public service has increased by close to 10%. I find it extremely ironic in Nova Scotia that it's the Conservatives that tend to spend all the money and not be more focused on the finances. But if we are, we can actually have fairer, lower taxes here in this province. We have the revenue for that. If we stick to the budget and don't waste money and do proper procurement, make sure we get the best bang for our buck on every single contract, we can lower your taxes by about $3,000 a year. That's real money for families. That's a year's worth of internet and cell phone bills, 2 kids in hockey, and family vacation that you deserve.
Exactly, Nick?
Yeah, we need to continue to realize that we're still working on healthcare here. We were so far in the hole 4 years ago. The Liberals promised a doctor for every Nova Scotian, and at the end of their term had less doctors than they do now, or than they did when they started. This government is continuing to invest in healthcare and trying to balance that with the cost of living. So we're providing a little bit of A and a little bit of B here to our residents. It can't just be about saving money. We need to make sure that when your family needs a doctor, that there's a doctor available. We have 265 more doctors net, like I mentioned, with opportunities to graduate 75 more each year that are going to work here in Nova Scotia. And like I said, I stood on a doorstep of a local physician who said that is the best way to support healthcare, is to graduate more people. You're increasing the income of your residents, you're increasing the tax base, you're doing all these things. We can do both. We can save Nova Scotians money and provide them the services that they deserve.
Thank you. Next question. In the past, the youth of the day felt they had to head west for jobs. Some still feel that way today. So what do you say to the youth of today when they ask about opportunities here in Nova Scotia? Nick?
Thank you. One of the programs that the PC government started is the MOST program, opportunities for skilled trade workers program, which anyone under the age of 30 is, has the ability to stay here, pay less, pay no provincial tax on their first $50,000 of income. This is a program that the PC's put in place not only to support our skilled trade workers, but to support issues like housing, where we're trying to build, 42,000 more houses, 17,000 of which are low-income assistance houses, and we need skilled workers to pull that off. So the best part of the To Houston approach, or the PC government approach, is that it's the only one, our platform is the only one that has a clear plan on how we're going to reach our goals. That's why, as a healthcare worker, I stepped up and supported the PC government. That's why 7 other healthcare workers are running as PC candidates in the province.
Zach?
I've talked to a lot of young people across the province, and it's not the lack of jobs now that is driving them out west or creating fear in their ability to build a future here. That's not the issue right now, because we've had good growth over the last decade, and there are jobs available now. It's the cost of living. We've gone from being one of the most affordable places to live in the country just 3 short years ago to one of the most expensive. And the big driver for that has been the cost of housing and availability of housing. So I'm talking to young people that are really struggling from a mental health perspective. They are literally losing hope because even though they have a job, full-time job, they're living in their parents' house. They are worried that they'll never be able to get out or find a place to live or a place to buy that they can build their own family in. And I do want people to look at the platforms. Can I say that for a second? I want people to look at our platform, and I want them to compare it to this 12-page brochure that Mr. Houston has, which they call a plan, but which you'll see has more pictures of Mr. Houston in it than new ideas for this province. Go look at ours and compare it and tell me that we don't have a good comprehensive plan to build more housing by dealing with zoning issues, by making it cheaper to build, by allowing prefabrication, tilt-up housing, modular housing, and by investing in the not-for-profit sector to build more deeply affordable units. I want you to go look at those and you tell me which one you think is actually it.
Next would be Adam.
Thank you. I'm a product of somebody who had moved out west and came back home. And I'm really grateful for doing that. I learned how to roof, and I didn't think that this was something of value. I underappreciated this. I grew up in an era where education was pushed, and they said, you need this education to become something. While I was in school, I felt, I would be better suited outside. I looked out the window and wished that I could go out in the sun and enjoying it and building. So, I'm a big believer in learning the trades and in building. So, building new housing isn't something that I'm aspired to. It's something that I am doing. And, growing up, or even being in the trades then, I didn't realize how valuable it is. But now I see how valuable it is. And I've got a son who I love, Parker, and I'm showing him how to build. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And I want to give this opportunity to anybody who wants to come and learn how to build. We're going to have a nice place on the Hard Scratch Road where they can do that.
I think it's still, building is going to be a challenge. So we are setting a goal of getting 80,000 new homes, new housing units in our province over the next 8 years. We have to hit that number, or our housing crisis is going to get worse and worse and worse. We hear a lot from the current government that they're the only ones that have ever thought about recruiting doctors or building homes. We had 10 net new family doctors last year. 30,000 new people into the province. Housing per capita is in free fall. Doctors per capita is in free fall. So we have less of these things per person here, which is why you are seeing homelessness triple, why you're seeing twice as many people without a family doctor. This is going to be a challenge, so we have to tackle it from a rules-based perspective to make it easier to develop safely and where appropriate. We do also need the labor, and we need to build things that are easier to put up, and you don't need all the labor for, like prefabs and modular housing. We need to get more women into our skilled trades workforce. Less than 9% of our skilled trades workforce are female. That's half of our population that's not participating in a labor force where we desperately need them. The most program that we've heard talked about has not been successful at getting more people in. There's been 20% take up on that. If we are planning on targeting bursaries and recruitment efforts to get more women who are living here right now into the skilled trades, and I think that can have a big impact on the amount of people working in our skilled trade sector.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Yarmouth for a second and what we've built in Yarmouth over the last 10 years. When it comes to housing, and the answer is nothing. We had some prospects on the table, one being a project at the old high school, where I feel like Zach was at the table when that came back to the province, and it was the province that never came through on that, the final approval of that project. We need to focus on what we can do for Yarmouth over the next 4 years. We've seen more housing. The PC government is funding housing across the spectrum. We've seen things like Nova Scotia community college campuses being built. We need one of those in Yarmouth. Tiny home communities in Sackville, we need some of those in Yarmouth. The PC government created the secondary and backyard suite incentive program to help families. We need to make sure that people know that that's available. The government has purchased hotels for homelessness in the city. We're doing what we can to support housing initiatives, and the PC government is funding 24 new low-income houses on Shaw Avenue right here in Yarmouth. All these are proof that the PC government is making a difference, and we need to continue to support these initiatives, and that's why we don't have new things in our platform like the 6-lane bridge.
The 18 to 24 age bracket had the lowest turnout of the 2021 election at 7% of eligible voters. What would you say to those voters, and how do you see getting them more involved in this process? We'll start with Nick.
Well, this year, unfortunately, that's going to be even more difficult without the voters' cards going out. It's always been a struggle to get young people out to vote. I went to Maple Grove Education Center yesterday and spoke to 180 grade 8 students and tried to encourage them into becoming involved in politics, showing them that leadership starts when you're that young, and being involved in communities that starts when you're that young. So I think we need to make and show government show our youth that government is important, that that we live in a wonderful country and a wonderful province, that it is because of our democracy that we get the freedoms that we have, and we just need to continue to support our youth so that they know that we care.
Thank you, Nick. Adam.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lack of interest, for our youth. Maybe what the what the government's offering doesn't appeal to them. It's not interesting. So they probably don't understand, and a lot of people probably don't understand how important voting is, and how important it is to have a choice and have accountability. Right? We have two parties here, right? Three, four, right? But really, there's not really a whole. I don't find there's a whole bunch of diversity between the parties, and something that stands out. So, I'm hoping to add a little more color to the Pepsi Cola challenge.
I'd like to offer, something pure, something like water, right?
We need to be talking about the issues that matter to our young people. And the folks I've talked about here in Yarmouth and across the province are worried about three things primarily that are creating actual stress for them. Housing and their ability to find a place that's affordable to live once they go to university or once they are able to move out of their parents' place. Cost of living, the fact that even when you graduate and you're working a job, life is very expensive here. The third thing is also climate change. And young people have a real right to be concerned about all of these three things. So we engage them by tackling those things and not just thinking about election cycles when we govern, but thinking about the next generation of people who will be inheriting our decisions, whether they like it or not. And that is why we've got a real platform, I think, to tackle this housing crisis, to go after it hard so that young people know they will have a place to live when the time is right, so that they know they're not going to live in the highest tax province in the country that is not affordable for them to live in, and so that they know we're actually going to tackle what we need to on climate change from not just an emissions reduction standpoint, but making sure our coastlines are protected, like by passing the and ensuring that our industries like fishing and farming are able to adapt to climate change as well.
Nick?
Well, thank you. I've knocked on over 4,000 doors in the last 3 weeks, trusting government is an issue. People want change locally, and I'm looking to be a strong MLA for Yarmouth. You talk about young people in the way they view politics. I had a grade 8 student yesterday tell me that the gas tax wasn't even fixing the environment. This is a grade 8 student, and we're the only government that's looking to support the federal government in getting rid of the gas tax. The Liberals have suggested a cap and trade system, which is the exact same thing as a gas tax, just formed in a different way. And any government that's supporting a gas tax right now isn't supporting the residents of Nova Scotia. We, as Nova Scotians, are environmentally. We are meeting our goals when it comes to greenhouse gases, and we are succeeding. And there's no need to overtax Nova Scotians. You've said it yourself, and it's in your platform to do that.
Thank you, Nick. Zach?
Well, I mean, here's the problem I have with the culture of the Tim Houston government, is honest people like Nick have to say dishonest things to fit into that group. And this suggests that we shouldn't do anything to price pollution, that doesn't have any impact on emissions, flies against all the evidence out there. Now, how we price pollution really matters. We did not have a carbon tax in Nova Scotia when we were in government. We won't have one if we're re-elected, because we will reestablish a cap and trade system that will do our part for the environment by pricing pollution from the bigger emitters, giving that money back to residents here in Nova Scotia to put into their heat pump program, their efficiency program, their solar panel program, to get rebates for your electric vehicles. And we'll take the price off the pump, because we don't have the infrastructure right now, from a public transit perspective, from a charging perspective, to get people out of gas vehicles right now. I myself drive a gas vehicle. So we actually have a plan to do more for the environment and save money at the pumps. This makes more sense to me than just using this carbon tax as a political battering ram because they know it's not popular. Tim Houston has had vote against the carbon tax on political signs for the last 2 years. Guess what? We still have a carbon tax in Nova Scotia. And Tim Houston's charging HST on top of it.
I think we've got to move on, Nick, to the next question.
So we're aware that the next questions are very stats heavy, but we want to give you those stats so that you can answer properly. Voter turnout for the last provincial election was around 55% overall. But the highest turnout were in the seniors demographic, 65 plus. Seniors are on a fixed income that really does not keep up with inflation and certainly does not keep up with skyrocketing rent, utilities, and grocery prices. Typically, with elections come promises of change. So what do you feel needs to change for seniors that is going to make them want to vote for you in this election? Adam.
I do not, I don't know how to get the seniors from. We're looking at, you know, my main things in my campaign is food, shelter, and it's important for them to have those two things. And if they're only making, you know, I don't know how much it costs to live right now, but I know you know, they begin like $30 or $40 more a check to keep up with inflation. I think inflation is quite a bit higher than that. So I feel really bad for people who are helpless in the growing economy. And it's a shame. It's a shame that everybody has to work so hard to support the government by having jobs, and they can't afford to take care of their parents anymore. You know, everybody's trying to keep up with inflation, and they forget about living.
Thank you. Exactly. Seniors are really struggling right now. You know, a lot of our seniors are on fixed income pensions. Cost of living has gone up 20% on average in Nova Scotia over the last number of years. Watch the news tonight. We announced our seniors platform today, where we'll be doubling the seniors care grant, increasing the income threshold for seniors to be eligible for housing grants and the seniors care grant as well. That's something that can be used for transportation, grocery deliveries, home support, lawn care, that sort of thing. But we also need to invest in home care and seniors housing. We've got a lot of seniors that are living in their single-family houses that want to downsize. They're not able to. Part of our housing plan includes building more senior-specific housing, which will also have the benefit for the seniors that do want to downsize, open up a lot of new single-family houses onto the market for folks that are looking for more housing. And to do that without penalizing seniors too, we'll get rid of the new transfer tax. Because right now, if you sell your home, a lot of seniors can't get out of their houses right now. It's more expensive. I mean, Mom and I talked about this. It's more expensive for her to move because of the transfer tax and because rents are so high than it is for her to stay. We could change that and make sure that there's more affordable places for seniors to live and more home care available for those who want to stay in their homes longer.
Thank you. Nick?
Thank you. As a nurse, I've spent the last 20 years taking care of many of our community members, many of them seniors. I have a special place in my heart for our senior community, and as your MLA, look forward to supporting that age group as well as all our residents as best as I can. The Seniors Care Grant, which needs to be noted that the Liberal government voted against, that they're now trying to double the PC initiative, and so the home heating rate program. We're looking at a multifaceted approach to trying to keep more money in everyone's pocket, including seniors, by decreasing HST, the indexing of tax brackets, continuing with the Seniors Care Grant, and simple things like removing the cost of parking at all Nova Scotia hospitals. What may be your worst day could be a little bit easier when you don't have to worry about finding money or your worst month to park at a hospital. So we are continuing to support all Nova Scotians, especially those populations that are and as your MLA here in Yarmouth, look forward to talking with anyone and everyone that wants to come out and see if I can do something for you.
No,
have a rebuttal from you.
Just something I'll add too is, we can't just look at our seniors as people that need things or that are waiting for the long term. The fact remains, evidence in this room, our seniors are bulk of our volunteer force. You know, still being active, running our service organizations, still in the labor market, working, and I know, I mean, as anybody would know here, critical for supporting working parents as well. So it's also, you know, looking at seniors as the vibrant community they are, who are contributing so much, and making it a little easier for those contributions to continue, like doubling the Senior Care Grant. That was a PC initiative. I've got no problem saying when other parties have a good idea, that's one. We just want to enhance it and make it better. We also want to get the HST off of gym memberships, because we want all people to be active and healthy, and we don't think you should have to pay taxes if you're going to the gym and looking after yourself, and are going to save the healthcare system money later on. It's also why we want to invest money in active transportation trails in our communities, and when we build our senior housing, make sure that there is active transportation opportunities around those as well.
So when I look at Yarmouth, you know, we talk about active transportation, getting seniors and being able to do things. You know, when I think specifically about the infrastructure that's here and what we've done over the last 10 years, and I think specifically about the Sheboygan Trail and a number of the other trails in the county, and the fact that nothing's accessible. We haven't invested any money in there. So, you know, as your MLA, we need to spend some time focusing on Yarmouth, and to your point, focusing on the community and building things for the population. We're, you know, breaking ground on the new Mayor Center expansion right now. That was a municipally driven project, and the province is stepping up to the table to invest more money in that because of the cost of the total cost of the province, and the project. You know, overall, we need to kind of focus more on Yarmouth, and to your point, to the residents here, and bringing more things back. So I look forward to having those conversations at the provincial table.
Our next question is, as of November 2024, the median rent in Halifax is $2,300 a month. This is 15% higher than the national average. The living wage is pegged at around $23.50 an hour, which works out to a gross household income of $85,540 for a family, whereas the average income for a single Nova Scotian is far from that. We're sure these stats are not a surprise to you, but what can the province of Nova Scotia do to help people that are renting at these rates get into their own homes and to start building equity? And we'll start with Adam.
Like, as a landlord, I deal with tenants and also the responsibility of a landlord. And I find that there's conflict there, because it's hard for me to keep up with the cost of material and the cost of labor to keep these aging, you know, like I deal mostly with trailers. I'm trying to do new builds now. So it's hard on my end, but it's also hard to you know, oppress people and try to get a fair wage for the work that I put in. So part of the problem, I feel, is our material and getting it. I feel that, you know, it should be as easy as going to a backyard and cutting down the trees, and you know, and a father showing his son how to build his own home. And in the past, that's how Yarmouth was built, I believe, by logging our own wood and building our own homes. I've been looking into a little bit of our forestry, and there's a lot going on with that that's been suppressed.
Thank you, Adam. Nick.
Thank you, Kevin. such deep emotion here today, because we all care so much about our community. And trying to get young people into their homes. Over 50% of high school students believe that they may never own a home because of the cost of living and the cost of housing. So this government is providing options and for people to get into their own homes. So by lowering the down payment, or working with coastal financial credit unions in the province, lowering the down payment from 5% to 2%, making it more accessible for people to get into their own homes. The cost of rent, the rent cap is still the same as when the Liberals were in place, and there has to be balance between landlords and renters. We continue to offer loans to new first-time home buyers so that they can get into a home sooner. We recognize that it is expensive to live here in Nova Scotia, so not only are we working on housing, again, by lowering taxes and finding other ways to support our residents, we'll do what we can to support our youth so that they can live the same life that our parents had and we had.
Thank you. Zach? Well, and it's everybody dealing with the housing crisis. Working families, two incomes coming in are having a hard time purchasing a home, affording the rent increases. We've seen rent not just go up in Halifax, but proportionally here in Yarmouth as well. I think we need to set a goal that people in Nova Scotia should not pay more than 30% of their income on their housing. Otherwise, they are going to be house broke, as people say around here. So we want to tackle that by making it more affordable to build. So I'm looking at rules like, I know we have that force developers to have provincial grade roads in small subdivisions. That might be something we have to revisit, because that puts a lot of cost on builders, and those costs are then going to carry over to people buying a home. So we have to look at the rules in place in Nova Scotia that are increasing the cost of building and change them so that we can reduce the costs. We're going to invest in co-op housing as well as deeply affordable housing units to get more of these units on the market as quickly as possible. And I am worried about the mortgage thing that the PCs are offering. When you make debt more cheap and easy to get, you drive the price of the supply up. So if that happens, we are going to see the price of housing go up in Nova Scotia, and we are going to see mortgages thousands and thousands of dollars more for people, and taking years longer for young people to pay those mortgages off, and that's going to be a problem long term.
Ramon? I think the PC government is working with Coastal Financial Credit Union to make sure that we don't put extra strain on our youth through this process. That's not the intent. We just talked about how we were going to try to get individuals into their first home, and this is a good initiative. So we'll continue to work with our residents and the government to figure out how we can get how we can work with youth to best serve them. And as your MLA, I look forward to sitting in on this conversation.
Adam?
I think it's important for us, a great way for us to help our local economy would be to invest more into our sustainable forestry. I know there's people in the area who want to grow back the Acadian forest. But I also know that there's also people who want to clear cut all our land and for profits to just ship it out. I think that this is one of our most valuable resources. This is what we should be using to build our income, our housing supply. If we can log our own, take the good wood, and clear cutting makes a big impact on our climate. There's all kinds of
studies that show that, it matchsticks and causes forest fires if we're to leave all the deadfall there and have and grow back as spruce instead of big maple trees. I go back out to my trailer park and I see big 120-year-old trees that are stumps that used to be there. And I think it's really important for us to look at our land and take good care of it.
Thank you, Adam. Zach? If we're going to drive the cost of housing down, we need to reduce the cost of building. We need to look at the municipal rules that are in place that are increasing those costs. Again, like forcing every subdivision to have a provincial grade road, probably is not necessary, and it's going to increase the cost of those developments substantially, which then whoever wants to buy property or rent in these areas, you pay more on the other. So we are focused on a plan that's going to reduce costs for development, that is going to build more housing units to get onto the market. This is the best way that we can stabilize and reduce the costs. We also have to look at the demand side, which is how many people. So we've had a conservative government in place that has been driving to double the population for 3 years, I believe, for the revenue. But we have a 0% vacancy rate here in Nova Scotia. That is also driving the cost up. So we do have to manage our population growth more sustainably. I am worried about this proposal with the mortgages, so I think people who are considering this, if it does become an option, need to know that this will drive the price up for the home. It will add thousands of dollars onto individual mortgages that families will have, and years on to debt payments. I do not think this is a good plan to make housing more affordable by adding more debt and thousands of dollars and more years onto payments that families have. We have to get them out of debt sooner.
Thank you, Zach.
Next question. Nova Scotia's rent cap is still 5% per year. However, some landlords are using loopholes such as rent evictions, fixed-term leases, and doing less evictions as ways to squeeze more value out of their properties. What can the province do to help protect these tenants and allow them to keep a roof over their heads? We realize this is a business issue, but what can the province do to ensure appropriate housing for people that need it? And Zach.
We are in a housing crisis right now. It's been driven by the population push by the Premier, and renters are getting squeezed, landlords are also getting squeezed. We are proposing the most amount of protection and support for renters by having smarter, fairer rent regulation that's taken out of the hands of cabinet, given to an independent body to assess what the economies are, the economics are, the costs and all this to determine what the rent cap is going to be. We're also bringing in a rent bank. We're the only party going to do this. This is zero interest loan money for people who lose their job, run into a difficult situation, and can't pay the rent. But we also want to get out of this housing crisis, and we want there to be a free housing market. So once we get to a healthy vacancy of 3%, there's more competition, like we had, in the 20 years previous to this period. We know that we can move away from these strict regulations, and competition will do a lot of that work for us. We will also end the fixed-term lease loophole if both tenants and landlords agree to do that. So it will be a fixed-term lease for 1 year. Both parties would have to agree to continue that. That does make sense in some circumstances, but otherwise it would go to a month-to-month or a year or 2 year lease.
Thank you. Nick?
Thank you, and we keep hearing about how Premier Houston is driving population growth, but the fact is population growth now is the same as it was, same rate as it was when the Liberals were in power. Our goal as a government is to bring in healthcare workers and support workers that can help deal with some of the other issues that we have. When it comes to when it comes to housing, we know that the only solution to any of these problems is building more homes, and that's what this government's working on.
We know that the cost of rent will go down when housing supply goes up. So as the PC government is continuing to invest in housing across the spectrum, and we're continuing to support Nova Scotians as best we can. The rent cap is the same at 5% because that's what's been fair to both renters and landlords. We know that it is expensive to live here right now, and we feel for everyone, but the fact of the matter is we need more houses, and that's what the PC government is building.
I don't think this is something that we can change overnight. And the way we need to change this is by having, investing in builders and investing in people, the opportunity to build. And we've got lots of land here that's we can develop and to create more supply, and more supply puts cost down. As far as the cap goes, myself personally, I don't put up the rent. I haven't been taking advantage of the extra 5% I could be asking for. I see lots of people put out on the streets, and it's a really sad situation that needs some attention. And there's no easy answer for this, but it's something that may take 20 years to do, unless there's a big contribution into spending in this sector.
Thank you. Rebuttal.
Well, just on the population, I mean, we've needed to talk about that honestly, because it's not a pro-immigration policy to burst our capacity at the seams. So if we want to set people up for success here who are moving, and make sure that we look after folks that have been living here, we do have to manage that growth responsibly. So, I mean, it's interesting to hear how the Conservatives have been talking about this now, because for the last 3 years, Tim Houston, I think in front of me, and some people here, has been saying, we're going to double the population. We had population going down until we got in office, and we're going to double the population. Now that he realizes he's made a mistake, they're now saying it's the same as it's always been. That's not true. The province has limited control over this, but it is in the provincial nomination process. So if you look at the documents that are available publicly there, the province, this government has been nominating twice as many people to come to Nova Scotia as the department itself says is sustainable. That's where we see the issue. And it's not healthcare workers and skilled trade workers. They're explicit about who's coming in their documents. Healthcare workers and skilled trade workers make up less than 3% of people who are coming here, and less than 14% of people who the province is nominating. So we do have to adjust those numbers, because we need time to catch up with housing, and we do have to deal with the demand side of population growth in the interim.
Thank you. Rebuttal.
I've taken on some skilled workers in my roofing, and they're really appreciative to be here. And a lot of things that we may take for granted, they appreciate and are so grateful. I'm really lucky to have brought some Spanish people in here, and I find the Spanish people are really good, and they've helped my company grow, because they have the skills where I did not have to teach them. So it's really good that this opportunity is here for us, and they're training my people here now. So this has been, I may just be part of the 3% who bring in the skilled trade workers, but the people, coming from Argentina and Peru, they've had corrupt governments who gave out lots of money, and then their government collapsed because of this. And all of a sudden, they're in a position where they don't have anything. Argentina used to be a very prosperous country, but the corruption took over, and they're really grateful for all the opportunities that we have here that we may not realize.
Our next question pertains to the cost of living. And according to a 2022 report by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, nearly 50% of Nova Scotians earn less than the living wage. When you take rent, transportation, groceries, and other essential services into consideration, what can your team do to help close this gap and relieve some of the huge stress off the shoulders of the average Nova Scotian? And we'll start with Nick.
Thank you. Cost of living, when I was elected to municipal council 4 years ago, the biggest problem we had is we didn't have a pool. And we've since rectified that. But when we're running this time around provincially or municipally, the biggest thing at the table is cost of living. And we know it's expensive to live in Nova Scotia right now. This government is focused on keeping more money in your pockets. We're doing that. We've talked about this all day, actually. That's the common theme across this table today, is that cost of living affects everything. And each party has an issue that one just keep at the indexing and tax bracket. Things like the seniors care grant, things like simple things like the cost of parking at Nova Scotia Health Hospitals. All those things put a little bit more money back in individuals' pockets so that they can hopefully take the vacation they need, or pay a light bill, or buy groceries. And this Nova Scotia government, the PC government, is going to continue to work on things like healthcare, but continue to support each resident, and we need to focus on doing that here in Yarmouth especially. And we'll do that by having an MLA that spends as much time as possible here helping the individuals of Yarmouth. And
Thank you, Nick. Adam.
It's a shame that it costs to live. I feel that we're created to live off the land, and if we were to be a little bit closer to that, maybe we wouldn't have all these problems that we have. I think we talk about trying to get the GST down 1 or 2%. I'd like to see our province be prosperous and not have to pay any tax. I feel that this is something possible, right? And if we're creating our own food, and we got the government doesn't ask for money for food. They didn't ask for money for all our possessions and all these things. So if we were to be a little less greedy, maybe the cost of living would be driven down by our need for the government. So I feel it's important, if we want to get the cost of living down, everybody has to take a little bit of responsibility and depend a little bit less on the government. And then, instead of blaming the government for everything, we need to take a good look at ourselves and be accountable for our own actions.
Thank you, Adam. Zach.
So if you compare the tax adjustments proposed by all three parties, and all three parties are going after some lower taxes. Ours is by far the most generous. So for the PC, and people should know the numbers, for the PC tax cuts, you're going to save about $850 a year. With ours, it's going to be $3,000. So we're tackling this in a number of different ways. Income tax, reducing the amount of income tax by pushing up the basic exemption to $15,700, reducing the HST by 2 percentage points. Those are the 2 percentage points that the NDP would have put on back in 2009. And taking HST off the rest of groceries. Food is a major cost for families, for seniors, for everybody right now. We're taking the HST off the rest of the groceries that you currently still pay HST on. But we're also going to bring more competition to the grocery market. Right now, independent grocers can't compete in the same neighborhoods that the larger grocery chains can. They have restrictive covenants. We're going to go after those, invest in those independent grocers, the ones that are actually selling more locally sourced food, to make sure we have more competition over the long run that will also help stabilize and reduce grocery costs. And I'll get together affordability measures in regard.
Thank you, Zach. Nick.
Yeah,
it has to be a fine balance. It has to be a balance between continuing to do the things that the residents need, like focus on healthcare and balancing the cost of living. We know that our platform, being fully costed, looks at both lowering taxes, keeping more doctors, and trying to provide a higher living wage for individuals and residents of Nova Scotia. You know, I find it, you know, we've also added things like the school lunch program, where 255 schools are receiving the ability for their students to receive a healthy school lunch. And, you know, that's something that helps out residents, families in Nova Scotia by being able to keep a little bit more money in their pocket. And this is something that the Liberals voted against. You know, we've talked about infrastructure and the gravel infrastructure, investment in roads. The gravel road budget over the last few years, the Liberals voted against that. Seniors care grant, the Liberals voted against that. Even fixed election dates, which is what we heard on the radio for the last 3 weeks, Liberals voted against that. So it's easy to not be in government and tell everyone what they should be doing, but it's different when you have a platform that you're working through, that you're making sound investments, and you're seeing.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Adam?
Rebuttal? For the cost of living? Yeah, like I previously said, you know, there's all kinds of ways to reduce our cost of living. It feels like, you know, a lot of people are caught in the just the routine, and they don't see you know, a way out. You know, and it's important for, I feel that's important for the government to keep everybody working so that they can keep on generating revenue from people's works. And I find, you know, when it comes to you know getting more people working, you know, it's a way for the government to get more money, you know, and I feel that it's a bit of a cycle that you know, we need to slowly get out of. I don't think it's important. You know, I think we can get by without having, you know, every man, woman, and child in the labor force. One thing that the government thinks is very important is the GPI, and that's how much money is produced. But this shouldn't be how we judge this shouldn't be how we judge how prosperous we are. There's other things than how much money people make to show how healthy a community can be.
Thank you, Adam. Zach?
So we actually began negotiating the lunch program when we were in government. And had we remained in government, that lunch program would have been free. And we wouldn't have been asking families who are already paying taxes to help cover the cost of that program. And the current government is leaving millions of dollars that should be here from the federal government on the table because Mr. Houston knows Justin Trudeau is not popular, and his political persona now is built around being an antagonist toward Justin Trudeau, which is preventing serious amounts of federal dollars to come into our province to invest in things like the school lunch program. And I have to say, Dick's right. We did vote against a fixed election date for the summer of July 2025. We thought a fall would be a better date. Do you remember who voted for it? Every PC MLA in that house. And yet here we are in November, and you'll see the Liberal campaign jackets are all fixed election date, thin windbreaker jackets, and the PC jackets are pretty heavy fall winter jackets. That's the difference between keeping your word and not keeping your word. Folks know me in this community. I believe in what we're running on. I have conviction on this. I'm not running just to get power and then not go through with what I'm telling you we're going to do. I'll keep my word to you. People in this community know I'm honest, and that I will do what I say I'm going to do.
Thank you, Zach.
So your answers to the last question are probably a good segue to this next question. A number of Nova Scotians are experiencing food insecurity, and whilst the recent school lunch program aims to help kids, we see that use of food banks is growing at an exponential rate, and 1/3 of clients are children. All of this while almost 20% of the clients say they have a job, and well over 50% of Canadians saying they are living check to check. What can and should the Nova Scotia government do to help the average Nova Scotian to help with being secure in their communities? Adam.
What I'd like to see is more local farmers. I'd like to see, right now, if all our supply chains were cut off, I don't think Yarmouth would have enough, would not be able to supply enough food to sustain its people. So, you know, I think that this is something that we need to do. We've got some land, and we need to, you know, nurture it and grow, and then, you know, if there's abundance of food, will help us out there. I find it so silly that food's unaffordable when we've got earth right all around us, and you know, I find it's you know, silly that houses are unaffordable when, you know, we should be making the investment into building our own infrastructure. So, you know, if we're relying on people bringing in this food, I don't think it's healthy for our community. You know, last time I ran, I said food, shelter, and recovery, right? And, you know, it's the same message at this time around. You know, we need to kind of recover from, you know, just a lot of these misconceptions that we believe to be true in what we need to do to live and what a good life is and having a good job. You know, I find that a lot of my workers are really happy being out in the elements, building, and they'd also be, a lot of people would be would be happy, you know, growing their own food.
Thank you. Zach?
This is a big, scary issue that's affecting a lot of people, that's affecting families, mental health outcomes. So we need to tackle this in a systematic way by lowering and going after the cost of groceries that are for sale, but also by investing in the organizations that are there for people to provide them food when they need it. I wouldn't have given $1 million to Sobeys for soup boys. I would have given that money to Feed Nova Scotia and to food banks and to farmers markets to help them get food that is desperately needed into the hands of the people that need it. There's incredible organizations locally. I can think of Brenda Hattie and the amount of meals that wonderful lady locally got into on the tables that of people that need it. That's where we need to put the money on those emergency related issues. Also make sure that we have less food waste. So a lot of food in our agriculture sector that isn't fit for the store shelves will either get buried back into the soil or discarded. We need to actually grab that food, locally produced, purchase it, and make sure that that is then redistributed to people as well. We brought a tax credit to help with that. It didn't go far enough, so we want to change that next time we're coming.
Thank you. Nick?
Thank you. Again, we're back to cost of living and supporting ourselves and our families, and we know, as a current PC government knows that it's, again, just too expensive to live here. And when we're looking at the price of food, you know, that's gone up over the last 3 years. You know, part of that's related to us being overtaxed. You know, products like a gas tax are applied to farmers, to transport trucks, to producers, to the producers that ship it to the grocery store, the grocery stores that, and then me when I go to pick it up. So we as a government need to find alternative solutions, like removing the gas tax on all products to make those products more available to our residents. And our PC government continues to invest in local organizations. I know Acts of Kindness here receives a generous donation from the PC government, well-deserved donation from the PC government, and they have served, I believe, over 50 or 70,000 meals to local residents. We seen last weekend what they were capable of. It was truly amazing work that they're doing, and they have used some of those funds to install food closets across Yarmouth County. So the government will continue to support local organizations to
do some of that work. We've also invested in the program that Zach talked about with investing in local products. Sorry.
Thank you. So, rebuttal? What?
So cost of food is one thing, and you have to go after that, but my God, we've got to deal with this food insecurity issue. And other costs are piling up on people, which are making this situation worse. A big cost for a lot of households is power right now. We've seen power rates, again, for the first time in 10 years, shoot up by close to 20%. This is creating additional financial stress on everybody. It's creating situations in some households even that have two incomes coming in on what kind of food they're able to purchase and other decisions they're making as a family as well. We've got a plan to tackle this. One issue I do have is that the current government is doing a lot of wind energy. It's the cheapest form of energy right now. My problem with it is that it's all being used to be shipped overseas in green hydrogen for Europe. Energy prices are so high in Nova Scotia right now because we're still burning the same amount of coal that we burnt 3 years ago, and it's very, very expensive. I think when we're looking at long-term energy solutions to Nova Scotia, we've got to get off expensive coal. We've got to apply wind energy to our own grid, reduce our emissions, and more importantly for each household, reduce power bills. And again, our plan on for cap and trade system to replace the carbon tax will give families more rebate money to invest in the efficiency programs that will then further reduce their power bills.
So we're going to move to closing comments from the candidates. Start off with Nick.
Thank you, and thank you for having us all here today. It's been a real pleasure. You know, over the next 4 years, Yarmouth needs to decide what it's going to look like over the next 4 years. I feel like the province has already decided what type of government we're going to have, and we need to decide as a group if we're going to be at the government table or not. Zach has been a good representative of Yarmouth, but he did sit next to the previous premier for 8 years, and there's questions around what really we have done in Yarmouth in that time. So as your MLA, I look forward to working with the Houston government to continue to focus on healthcare. As a nurse, like I said, I've seen significant progress in the past 3 years. I know it's slow, but significant progress. As your MLA, I look forward to trying to bring as much funding and infrastructure money back here to Yarmouth so that we can continue to work and build up Yarmouth. The PC government is proud of the investments it's made here in Nova Scotia in the last 3 years. We are proud of the people in the communities we represent. And again, as your MLA, we'll continue to support the residents of Yarmouth and make sure that we get what we are deserving. The residents of Yarmouth aren't looking for more government deals. They're looking for a government that's going to make it happen, and that's the PC government.
Thank you. Zach?
I proudly sat next to a premier that brought our Ferry, that invested in new schools, that announced a new emergency department back in 2019. It's been delayed for 3 years because of politics. And I want to lead a government that's not just going to invest in this community, but to invest in this entire province in a way that is going to bring relief to people right now, but also set our kids up for success over the long run. And we have a plan to do that I'm very hopeful in, that I think can give hope back to people who are struggling and who are losing hope right now. We need to make these changes. And as your MLA, I've never been someone that has sat in front of you and read out party messages or speaking notes. I've always spoke to you straight, and I have not been the party's voice or the government's voice here. I have been Yarmouth's voice to the government and to the party. And that may sometimes, I had to fight Stephen, who's a scary man to fight. I had to push back against the current Prime Minister. But you know what? I don't think we need to fight anymore in this area. I think it's our turn to lead this province. And Houston and all his candidates might think the votes are already in, but this election is 1 week away, folks, and we are not taking any votes for granted like they are. We are working to earn your votes until the end of this election, and I certainly hope to have your support. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to, help out the Green Party, have some publicity. I haven't been doing the hard work like these gentlemen have, but I'm really grateful for everything that Yarmouth has given me. There is opportunity here, and it's important for us to take advantage of the opportunities that we do have. We need to work hard together so we can have a community that's strong. I'd like to continue to grow the Green Party. If people will take the time out of their day to put us an X on the ballot, this helps us with the funding. Every vote gives a little bit of money towards the Green Party. And I feel it's really important for diversity in our politics. So we're not just a two-party system or three or right now there's only 3 different parties and a couple of independents in there. So thank you, Yarmouth, for everything that you've done for me. I appreciate it, and I appreciate these gentlemen for coming out. And I know they both want to see Yarmouth do.
Thank you very much to Liberal leader Zach Churchill, Progressive Conservative candidate Nick Hilton, and Green Party candidate Adam Randall for being here today to take part in the debate. And a big thank you to our sponsor today, the Nova Scotia Realtor Association, also to Eastlink Community TV, Mile East Productions, Nick Doucette, and all of our volunteers behind the scenes. Thank you to Jamie for being here as well. Thank you.
Nova Scotia.
All right, guys, I'm back here now, so I can speak now that that's over. I hope everybody really enjoyed that. That's a good word. Don't underestimate performance value. Exactly, like you look at the American elections and how those individuals performed. It's quite telling. Well, maybe we can just have a second here before we end the live stream, just to shake each one of the candidates' hands. And pardon? I stream on YouTube, and it's under the name Tri-County Accountability.
I was sort of wondering.
Yeah.
Tri-County Accountability.
On YouTube, yep, and you can find me there. All my content is there, free of charge. You don't have to pay anything or any subscription. I'd gladly like to see it. If you have any comments, you can leave them in the comment section, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can for you. All right, man? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Have fun with Dakota.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Spring Hill. I'm gonna just go see if I can speak with Adam. Adam seems free right now. Oh, excuse me, Jamie. Can I get by you here? Thank you very much.
A long time ago, Don Purnell and
Adam, how are you? Good. Dryden Perry.
Dryden Perry?
Yeah. How are you today? Good. I'm glad you're out here and you actually spoke. I heard that the NDP representative wasn't really able to come out today, and I'm glad that you were, and to speak your point of view on some of the things and to debate with the other candidates. I think that's really great that you did that, and I think that the community as a whole can benefit from some of your ideas as well as some of the others. So I hope you have the best opportunity that you can, and you do as well as you can in the election. Okay. I really hope that for you, and I'm sure my viewers will too. And like I said, I think some of your platform ideas and promises are very good for our community, and I hope you do very well. I really do. Thank you very much for speaking. I appreciate it.
Dryden?
Dryden Ferry, yeah.
Dryden Perry.
Yeah, I'm a local carpenter actually.
Oh, good.
So if you ever maybe in the future with your program of helping people build, maybe I'll get in contact with you and I can help you out with that a little bit because I think that's very beneficial.
Yeah, Perry.
Yep, Pery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was your first name?
Dryden.
Dryden.
Yep.
Perry.
Yep.
Okay.
I have my 2-year course at NSCC, and I've worked in carpentry for years, and I run my own small business on the side as well.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
Are you busy?
I keep it kind of slow. It's just me.
Yeah.
So I've got small kids at home, so I just kind of go as I go. You know what I mean? Keep things like under control, not above my head, above my means. You know what I mean? Because I don't pay for any help with my taxes or anything like that, so I do all of that myself. So when you get into really high end stuff, you're up till 2-3 in the morning, waking up at 6 in the morning to go to work again. And with 2 small children at home, that's not really the thing that I want to do. So for me, I've kept my clientele is mostly individuals that are in need in the community. So maybe elderly individuals or people with disabilities that might not be able to afford Garian or other companies. And I'll go out and help them with small repairs in their homes and things like that to make their homes more livable for them. Because like I said, there's a lot of individuals out there that can't necessarily afford these type of things, especially with the increased cost of building materials and labor costs. Not saying that they've completely caught up, especially with the inflation and whatnot when it comes to carpentry especially. But I think supporting the community in that sort of way, in the little ways that I can, is something that I should be proud of in myself. And that was the initiative that I wanted to take from the beginning. And it's something that has worked well for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's just how I want to be as a person.
And that's important, right? Because like if you're just operating like this, you don't have all this overhead and you can keep your costs down.
Exactly.
And that mental space that you save from not having to worry about, it's always hard to, when you're training somebody to go back and redo the work.
Exactly, right? And the costs associated with it and things like that. So for me, like obviously there are some projects that I do take on employees. Most of my employees are my friends and people that I've known for a long time. But when we do go into those projects, it's mostly me leading their laborers because of that situation, right? Mm-hmm. And like that would be small decks and fences type of thing where you need an extra hand. It's almost impossible to do that kind of thing by yourself kind of thing. Like you could get it done, but it's going to take you much longer and the client wants a product in a timely fashion, right? So it's something that if I do need to bring an employee on, it's more or less as a laborer and not necessarily a skilled tradesman because those individuals cost more obviously, and I want to pay a meaningful wage to these individuals, and I pay my laborers $20 an hour to start. If they stay with me for a while, then we can talk about going up in price and whatnot, but that's just for general labor. I don't require them to know any code or any sort of that. I take care of all of that. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get individuals maybe interested a little bit as well in helping others in the community and learning a trade, because carpentry being non-compulsory, you don't have to go to school for that. You don't necessarily have to red seal for that. So to pass on this information to other people is a great benefit to our communities, and something like you want to do where you create, I'm not exactly sure of your vision for it, but from what it sounded like, it seems like you want to set up some sort of a compound, a learning compound where individuals can go and gain valuable life skills when it comes to the building trades. And I think that's incredibly valuable for our community, because when I graduated college, we had 6 individuals that graduated from my course. And if we look at the average across the province, that only leads about 30 to 35 carpenters that went into the workforce that year from a certified educational background. So when we talk about a lapse in skilled trades, we have a lapse in skilled trades here, and we need to get more people enthused about it, and the people that want to do it, not necessarily the people that need to be enticed to get into a trade. Because like I like to say, when we talk about getting individuals into trades that may not be interested, it's like trying to get men to buy more makeup, because the makeup industry isn't selling enough makeup to men, right? If you're not interested, you're most likely not going to go into that trade irregardless of incentives or cost breaks. And even if you do, what's the longevity of you in that type of trade, right? Because maybe you work 1 or 2 years, you realize, well, this wasn't what I wanted to do in the first place. I only got into this because there was a tax break or there was some sort of financial break for me, and now I'm tired of it, so I'm going to quit. And when you talk about spaces available in colleges, that person who is not going to be a long-term carpenter took up space for someone that may have been able to be a long-term carpenter and further benefit our communities in the long term.
That's a great perspective.
So I hope so. I hope it's not mistaken, because obviously coming from just an independent, like I act as an independent journalist as well. Like I'm actually live streaming on YouTube right now. My channel is Tri-County Accountability. I do a lot of videos in town. I've interviewed Zach, I've interviewed Nick, I actually tried to call you the other night. Your voicemail is full, I think.
It could be. I've got several different numbers.
So I called your business.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not sure if that's the best number to get a hold of you. I wasn't 100% sure, and I just wanted to have a quick conversation with you, and maybe in the future I could get a hold of you before the end of the election. Maybe we could speak more, or even after.
Yeah. Like my wife answers the phone.
Okay.
So I've got 2 business lines.
Yeah.
But I've got a personal line.
Okay.
So there's 648 roof.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I called.
Yeah, so I wasn't aware that answering machine was full. So that's good to know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Maybe I make a lot of phone calls in the day from time to time, so maybe it wasn't exactly your voicemail that was full, but for some reason I feel like it was. But that doesn't mean I can't call back, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely will, and I think I would really like to speak with you, and I think some of my viewers would also like to look at more of your opinions and have more conversations and more time to get who you are as a person, because this kind of situation that you had today was more of on the spot. I'm sure they didn't give you a list of questions prior.
I asked Quinn for the list of questions. You didn't give it to me.
I didn't give it to anybody.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
The topics, on the other hand, were pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
knew there's no way to not know what the topics are going to be.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, as long as you're prepared for that.
So I think it would be beneficial in the future for maybe me and you to get together and just kind of talk, especially from my perspective as a carpenter in the community and a lifelong resident of Yarmouth myself. I think we could potentially get together in the future and work something out that can benefit our communities as a whole.
I've got the trailer park on the Harscratch Road,
Yep.
and I've got an office behind there. If you want to stop in, I can make time for you in the evening.
Yeah, for sure. And it would be something I'd let you know. We kind of set it up so I'm not just springing upon you. But I'd love to come and sit down and have a conversation with you and just talk about more of your platform, more of the things that you care about, right? Because I think they're important. And I think other people think they're important as well. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to speak with Nick, and I'm going to talk to Zach, and then I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate you coming out and doing this today. I really do.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Thank you very much. Bye now. Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to the comment section here. See if we can find anybody else. They might have all scattered already, though. Hi. Did Nick and Zach already head out?
I think so.
Did they? Oh, I was talking to Adam really quick. I just wanted to wish them luck.
Maybe.
I just wanted to wish them luck. I'm sure I'll see them again.
Yeah.
But Richard, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for hosting this. Appreciate it. It was really good.
What's the best way to get in touch with you when we're doing it next time?
So I left you a voicemail last night about coming today.
Okay.
I said to you or whoever it may concern, I left my phone number on there. I'm actually still live right now.
Perfect.
So even maybe tomorrow I'll give you another call. And we'll have a conversation. I'll give you my phone number, my email, things like that. And then you can guide me to where I need to follow. And then I can disseminate that to some people so they can follow it as well. And then in the future, we'll be able to know more about these type of situations and come out and do it.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
You just little time.
That was Richard of the Chamber of Commerce. Come down and tell him yourself, Joey. His brain is doing the thing when Marge rambles to Homer. I'm sorry I ramble a lot, you guys. I'm sorry about that. Where are you guys? I'm going to end this stream and I'm going to head home. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on the channel if you haven't before. And we will see you guys in the next one. I'll see how we friggin' end this.